it's extremely tough as a woman to be an entrepreneur, not just in India, even outside.
Because once again, the market is very smart. No matter what story you tell them, if your product doesn't have good quality, word will spread very fast. Your repeats will start coming down. Word of mouth will become poor. Referrals will not work.
If you're in a, entrepreneurship is tough, it requires more hours, but does, building your own startup give you the joy and the energy that when you come back home, you're happy?
Right?
Yeah.
We often talk about how longevity in careers and in life is actually the secret to success. You can achieve, you're unable to achieve actually too much, no matter how good you are or how strong your start, if you don't have the health to play it over a long time. And every failure also teaches you so much.
Yeah.
And when you've been an entrepreneur even once, you realize that small monetary losses don't move the needle. We're all playing for a bigger prize. So it's a little bit like many laps of a race. If you're a little behind, if you're a little forward, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
So thank you so much Shalabh sir and Gazal ma'am for being our guest today. And आपको तो पता ही है हमारे शो का कॉन्सेप्ट, हम आपसे कुछ 4 से 5 सवाल या शायद 6 सवाल भी पूछ सकते हैं और फिर हम आपको ऐसे तो जाने नहीं देंगे. We'll play a quick rapid fire round with you. And guys, by the way, like this is our first couple shoot, so please bear with us. Well, तो सर मैम मेरा सबसे पहला सवाल आपके लिए ये है कि you both come from a different background. Like sir, you are from IIM Ahmedabad and ma'am you are from Stanford. बट वी नो कि एक छोटी सी कॉमन बात है, वो है यू बोथ ऑल्सो बिलोंग टू IIT दिल्ली. तो ये स्टोरी क्या है, मतलब वी आर क्यूरियस टू नो व्हाट इज द स्टोरी बिहाइंड दिस ट्रैक्शन.
This actually,
You can get the long version from her or the short version from me.
I'll tell him, you'll get the Bollywood version from me.
Okay.
But we actually met at IIT Delhi first year. So, we've known each other now for good 17, 18 years.
We've known each other longer than, we've known each other more than half our lives now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was first semester in college. Both of us were part of the English debating and literary club. And yeah, that's where we met. And, we got married 10 years ago. So Stanford and IIM happened, later in life. Love happened first.
Okay, great. और सर आपके एंड से
यही है actually. This was over the years the story has become shorter.
Okay.
So now I think Gazal and I are on the same page on the story. But yes, it was we met very early in life, and then we took some time to come to the realization that we were sort of meant for each other. And then, like she said, MBA and job and all those things happened much later. But I think the decision to stay together and construct our lives together happened before that.
great.
Yes, and I also say, like, I mean, now that we look back, हमारी चाइल्ड मैरिज हुई थी, मुझे ऐसा लगता है, बिकॉज गिवन
आज के स्टैंडर्ड से तो चाइल्ड
हाँ चाइल्ड मैरिज है, बट it's a very different take on how you build your life. You found the partner and then you construct your life, and it's very important that your values are aligned. Like we both ended up starting up, and a lot of people ask us how that has been, but frankly the most important career decision you make in your life is who you choose to spend the rest of your life with. So at least we made that early on.
Great.
And they say that especially for women, that the most important career decision is who you choose to marry. But I think at least today it's equally true for men as well.
That's true. Great. So moving on, वैसे हमारे शो का एक बहुत ही पेटेंट क्वेश्चन है, and I'm sure if you would remember it, कि आपकी और आपकी दोनों की अलग अलग सैलरीज आई होंगी फर्स्ट टाइम. So what was your first salary and yours too, and what did you do with it? Like did you spend it or did you save it, या क्या किया उसके साथ?
So my first job was with McKinsey, and I think my first salary was what, 10.5 lakhs.
A month?
No, annually,
Oh, okay.
annually, not a
Okay.
month. I mean,
Okay.
business analysts are not paid that much. It was also McKinsey intentionally on campus does not pay the highest in consulting. They want people to join in spite of offering slightly lower. And what did I do with it? I actually bought gifts for my family. So, my sister, my parents, and I remember I saved the rest of it because, I didn't want to spend it all away. And then, yeah, so that was the mindset then, like just a gratitude to all the people the village who had helped me get through IIT.
Okay. So with this, I have a counter question. Are you still the saver in the family, or now you're a spender?
Um, I think, see, I grew
It's a
up.
loaded question.
It's a loaded question. And I've always felt that conflict. See, my father's from services background, very middle class upbringing. And one thing that's ingrained in you is just value for money and how you spend it. So I think even in spite of being now a spender, there is always a judgment on value, right? Like there is that value spending always at the back of your mind कि यहाँ पे spend कर सकते हैं और यहाँ पे save कर सकते हैं, वो हमेशा रहता है. And I think it'll take a generation for that to go away.
Wow, that was really great. And sir, अब आपकी बारी.
Huh. So actually, coincidentally, my first job was also with McKinsey, but 2 years later because Ghazal joined as a business analyst out of IIT, and then I went straight to IIM Ahmedabad, and I joined as an associate after my MBA. So what I did is
How much was it?
how much was it? I was a summer intern, and I think my salary was about approximately 2 lakhs a month, something like that. And it was a handsome amount in those days. And what I did is I was a summer intern outside India, and I came back, and then I had a couple of days to go. I was in Mumbai, and I remember I looked for showrooms of Bose in Mumbai, and I think I caught the local train and went to some faraway showroom I don't know why the showroom was so far away, but I went there and I bought a radio CD player for my mom from that. So that's what I did with at least some of my salary. That's a memorable thing that I did with the money I earned from my first salary.
It's strange.
I think everybody thinks of buying something for their parents or for their mother at the time. Yeah.
So when Shalabh came to meet my parents, he was already at McKinsey. So I think there have been two people who have asked his salary, my mom and you, ever in the life. Because she asked me what is his salary, and the next person is you.
Okay, I'm so sorry for that, but you were show the concept. Well, it was a really nice story. And like moving forward, my next question is to you, ma'am. You are a woman entrepreneur. You are a successful entrepreneur, I would say. And but still, we believe that there are certain boundaries in the country where women are not encouraged enough to start their own businesses. So what is your take on it? What would you want to say to these women who aspire to be entrepreneurs, and how have you been consistent in your decision?
So it's not easy, and is it going to be easy in the near term? No. So let me just put that straight out. It's extremely tough as a woman to be an entrepreneur, not just in India, even outside, because of the stereotypes that exist, because of which sort of hinder you as you go to fundraise, etc. People at the back of their mind think about, what you would do when you have a family, what you would do when you sort of want to have children, get married, etc. So it's always playing on people's mind. The second is, somehow for women, you stereotype the roles also, that can women be very aggressive in thinking about breaking barriers or disrupting a sector, right? Like you always think of them as playing very sort of roles that are very back end in organizations. So to see themselves in like aggressive growth roles, etc., also is a stereotype that exists. Even your the support ecosystem does not exist in India, right? In terms of can you be running a startup while your child gets good sort of daycare, etc. There are still gaps, right? And on top of that, in India, if even now when I go to some of the parent teacher meetings of my daughter who's now in nursery, and so the question is, oh, you work. So, even that is still the perception in our society that as a woman it's okay to not work, right? So when the whole world sort of is saying it's just okay, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. Then if you want to say that, I want to be an entrepreneur, it's, you'll get a lot of questions where people are like, kyun kar rahe ho? Just have an easy life, take up a job. So one is just breaking through all of that, pull that's pulling, that's keeping you, that's holding you. And then to have the confidence that, what, I can really do this. So it's always playing on top of, and if you fail, and every entrepreneur fails, then all of that suddenly comes back to you saying, yeah, maybe I should have, not done it, because, there's no bravado in doing it, because when you fail, people are like, humne to kai tha. So there is it's like running the same. I was telling somebody, like being a woman entrepreneur is running the same race, 100-meter race with 20 kgs on your back extra, right? So it's that. But therefore I say that, it's tough, but I have deep respect for women entrepreneurs, no matter what kind of business, what scale, what city they're building in. And you really need to want to be an entrepreneur, because it's going to be tougher. That race is tougher. So मतलब एक वो कहते हैं कि अंदर फायर इन द बेली होनी चाहिए, जज्बा होना चाहिए, and it has to come from some place of why you want to do it. Maybe you are so deeply connected with the problem, maybe you want to do this for yourself. For me, as I think about my next venture, a lot of it is actually doing it for my daughter, so that she grows up in a world where she sees the home as equal, right? And also the world as equal as much as she can, starting from here. So it can be different reasons. But to your question, is it tough? Absolutely. Is it easier than what it was for me? Yes. But is it still tough? Yes.
Great. Awesome.
If I can just add to that, while it's undeniably tougher for women to be entrepreneurs, I think the world needs more women entrepreneurs, for the reason that what I've always seen is that women leaders, especially women founders, etc., they are not driven as much by ego and adrenaline as sometimes men are. It's a little easier for a male founder to get caught up in some kind of moch ki ladai with competition than it is for women. So women are generally more calm, more collected. They can make decisions with a cooler head under pressure, and they are more used to. Perhaps they are just more used to dealing with expectations and dealing with pressures throughout. So hopefully we see many more women entrepreneurs.
Great. So moving on to my next question. It's for both of you. It's towards your investment journeys. As you know, that on our show we talk about the financial instruments where our guests have been investing in. So I'm sure you both would have taken your own decisions, but would definitely want to know that what inspired you to invest, and did you learn it on your own, or you got some suggestions or some aspirations, and were there any mistakes that you did in the initial days while investing your money, and maybe some of the financial instruments which you think are really good to invest in?
Sure. I think, so the way I think about investments that we've both done is in two buckets.
Okay.
One is conventional instruments. Right. So, like everyone else, we've got some mutual fund investments, we've got some real estate investments. Recently we started investing in gold ETFs. So some of those conventional basket of instruments, and all self-taught, self-learned. I think somewhere there's a little bit of that feeling that with two business degrees between us, we should have at least some knowledge of investing. that we are able to do this on our own to some extent. The other bucket that we invest in is startups.
Okay.
So as as people who are in the startup ecosystem and have some degree of access to startup founders that are beginning new ventures, etc. Uh, you know, occasionally we get the chance to invest in something very promising at an early stage, which is not, which is despite a number of syndicates and angel groups, etc. It is helpful if you're plugged into the ecosystem, you get that access. So that's the second bucket where we make a lot of investments. And over time, some of them have done well for us. We've even been able to exit some of them at a profit. Some of them, and this is the nature of the beast, have also failed. But that's one investment bucket that we are quite bullish about going forward as well.
So,
Yeah.
my simple question, sorry to cut, but when you are investing in startups, what do you look out for? Are you looking out for an idea or you invest in an entrepreneur?
So I basically, and we've done two journeys between ourselves. I think first is just founder market fit, and second is like supreme execution chops, because idea gets commoditized very, very quickly in today's day and age. The runway that you have, that this is your own idea, is really 6 months today. Whatever is getting funded in BYC, we know here. Whoever is investing, I mean, all of it is available, right? And there are a lot of lookalike businesses that can come up, A for B, US में हुआ है तो इंडिया में, all of that. I think a DNA of getting things done and execution. And I think the third thing that I look at is the mental agility of the founder to pivot, because we are building in very, very sort of VUCA worlds. It's very ambiguous when you start building. You may have a thesis about a certain market, a certain product, but once you hit the market, things change. And how adaptable is the founder in in sort of when they perceive these changing dynamics, how can they pivot at the end of it, right? Is it a founder who's looking to solve a problem, or is it a founder with a solution looking for a problem, right? So to me, those three things matter. Yeah, and just to add to what Shalabh mentioned, I think one thing that I really the reason I asked him to answer is because after we got married, I was a student in the US, so I didn't have earnings. Of course, my my education was fully sponsored scholarship, but he was the one earning. And the one thing I really liked was his discipline about investing in the conventional bucket, because that is, your SIPs, your your sort of distributing the portfolio. And I think that really helped us, because when we sort of were on our entrepreneurial journey, those those sort of steady income baskets that we had created good sort of returns and savings for us, because as when we were entrepreneurs, we were not drawing any salaries. So suddenly your income goes down, but those SIPs, those mutual fund and steady investments helped. And along the side, we sort of started doing angel investments because we understood the space. Although I also say that angel investing is a very it's a hobby. It's a very risky hobby. So do it only if you can catch the pulse of the founders and the market. Otherwise, I would highly recommend staying away.
Okay, so with this, I think हमको हमारे इस एपिसोड का टाइटल मिल गया है, which is Angel Investing is a Hobby. So do it at your own risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was really good. And now moving on to my next question, which is for you, sir,
Sure.
which is more towards the brand building side. You as the chief growth officer of Noise, would you like to share some of the strategies that you have been adopting or you have seen other brands have adopted and has really worked out when it comes to building a brand of this level?
Sure. Look, so first of all, I can't take all of the credit for the brand that has gotten built. I think the credit for what happens at companies, and the discredit also for what doesn't happen at companies, the lion's share belongs to the founders. But that said, I feel, over time what I've seen is that there has to be deep respect for customers and the market. Customers may not always be able to articulate what they want from a particular category, whether it's a product or a service or a SaaS business, anything. But they know intrinsically what they want. So a business has to think very simply. And I also believe in a stage-wise manner. The first stage and the most important thing is to get your product in as many hands as possible, because that's the best kind of brand building. Uh, if you've built a brand by informing people about the wonderful things that your product does, but your product isn't available anywhere, nobody actually has used it, there's no word of mouth, a lot of that brand building becomes just dissipates, just fizzles out. So the first thing is, I think, the first order of business is for a company to figure out how to sell a lot of product. Second is quality and consistency. Because once again, the market is very smart. No matter what story you tell them, if your product doesn't have good quality, word will spread very fast. Your repeats will start coming down. Word of mouth will become poor. Referrals will not work, and so on. And conversely, if your product quality is good, the pricing is good, then there's very little that can come in the way of your company being successful. And on top of that, then marketing, brand building is the icing on the cake. On top of that, you need to build a compelling narrative as to why your product is extra special. It's special already because it's good quality and it's a right price, but the extra specialness can come from the story. The story can be a human story. It can be the fulfillment of a purpose. It can be some world-changing ambition. It could be anything. So for Noise, for example, the story is that the brand wants to become the number one connected lifestyle company of India, and that is a story that, even if it doesn't directly resonate with the customers in as many words, it resonates with the ecosystem, with retailers, distributors, other commerce partners, etc. They understand that the company is trying to be more than just its products and devices. So that's how I think. I think first, sell a lot of product. Second, always be careful about quality and consistency. And third, have a compelling storyline.
Okay. Great. So this was a good learning again. Maybe ये भी हमारे title में से एक हो सकता है. So yeah, great. So moving on, and this is going to be my last question to you both. And post that we are going to play a quick rapid fire round. So my last question is more towards the work-life balance. Like, ma'am, you just mentioned that you have a kid who is in nursery. Plus, you are an entrepreneur. You are a CGO of Noise. There's a lot of work, a lot of business that you have been handling around. So how do you manage this work-life balance?
So, we stop thinking about work-life balances in terms of time, but in terms of, at least for me personally, in terms of harmony or, sync. Is your work in sync with your life and your life in sync with your work? Because it's rarely about the time, but more about the energy that you're able to bring. Now, imagine if you're in a, entrepreneurship is tough. It requires more hours, but does building your own startup give you the joy and the energy that when you come back home, you're happy and you can spend whatever time you spend with your kid is just, adding to that energy. And then, the good time that you're spending with your family is again setting a virtuous cycle of, taking all that energy back to work in whatever you're doing. Contrasting it with, I've seen in so many places where people have great work-life balance in terms of time, but maybe the jobs they're doing, they're not happy with it. They're frustrated with, the kind of work, with their manager, with, some upcoming appraisal or whatever. And when they come back home, they're just frustrated. So even though you can be at home, you're not present there. So for me, the big change in life was, I read this book some time back, The Power of Full Engagement. It's not about time, but it's about energy. That's how now I'm wired to think about it. Like, are you present where you are? You can have a very short conversation with somebody for 30 minutes, but if you're fully present, you can get a lot done.
Correct. Sir, what's your take on that?
I fully agree. I think being present is such a superpower, and sometimes when you meet very senior people, uh, you realize that their superpower is to be present. Phones are not disturbing them. They're not distracted. They're not looking through you to somebody else. They are fully present. And the higher up you go, the more you hear this kind of thing spoken of about people, world leaders, and so on. Often people say they make you feel like you're the only person in the room. So even if though they are speaking with you for 2 or 3 minutes, you feel like you have their complete attention, and that is charisma as well, right? Full attention is also charismatic, and it helps you achieve more in less time. For me, one thing that I've done recently, two things that I've done recently. One is I've started focusing a lot more on health. Some of it also comes with time, with age. You start realizing that what came easily needs a little bit of effort and investment. But that investment, and because that's the theme also of our conversation, that this is a very good investment that compounds over time, right? We often talk about how longevity in careers and in life is actually the secret to success. Uh, you can you can achieve you're unable to achieve actually too much, no matter how good you are or how strong your start, if you don't have the health to play it over a long time, right? If you can go to 4 or 5 Olympics instead of just one Olympics, then the probability of medaling increases a lot more. And in business, it's the opposite, right? Your first Olympics as an athlete, you have the maximum chance. But in business, your fourth or fifth Olympics, you probably have more chance because you've grown wiser, you have more gray hair, etc. Second thing that I've done is, very simply, I've almost stopped reading business literature. So business books, startup books, leadership books, motivational books, etc. I've stopped reading all of these, and I've gone back to something that used to give me great joy, which was to read fiction. And my reasoning is very simple. There's one side of your brain which is analytical and rational, and you exercise that all day at work, right? And then when you come back home and you have a little bit of me time, if you spend that time also exercising the same part of your brain, once again, learning about leadership, business, etc., then the other side of your brain is very undernourished, and you don't feel fully relaxed. So my formula for conserving energy is to keep watering the creative, aesthetic, non-work sides of my mind and my personality.
Great, awesome. Matlab, we have got to learn so much from this session. I mean, I can probably take away a lot of things, the strategies that Sir has told us, or the angel investing is not is a hobby. The things that you have told, I'm sure viewers are going to learn a lot. And thank you so much once again for doing this for us. But as you know,
Thank
जैसे
you.
मैंने पहले भी कहा था, now we are going to play a quick rapid fire round, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So guys, we are in for very fun o'clock. Great. So my very first question. So this is very simple. You have to point out on the person who does this the most, and then the person who wins it, will have to answer why. Okay. So my very first question: who is likely to spend more money on weekend parties?
It's relative. Like, okay,
Yeah, there are only two of us, so
so
it's you.
it's relative. I'm not a huge spender on weekend parties, but yes, between the two of us, me.
But I'm a non-spender on weekend parties, so automatically
Yeah.
Ghazal is the one.
So you spend on weekday parties?
I don't spend on any. I mean, I don't
He
spend on any
doesn't
parties.
spend
Yeah,
on anything.
except for
Travel.
except on house parties.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. My next question: who is likely to get more money oriented? Okay.
Okay, you sure.
Okay. Why?
I think no. I think it's divided. So Ghazal said in the beginning that our values are quite aligned. I think our values are quite aligned on this also. So money is important to both of us, but it's not. I think in the relative ranking of things, to both of us, money would be approximately in the same place. With health, family, etc., etc. All of those things would probably be in a similar
So both of you
place.
are money oriented.
Yeah, money oriented in the sense, it sounds like we're money oriented to the exclusion of everything else. But I mean,
It's at the same level for
it's at
both
the
of
same
us.
level for both of us. Yeah.
Great. Third question. Who is likely to research more about latest investments and market updates?
Yeah.
Again? Why?
It's just I have a knack for it. So
Okay.
I mean, it's just a hobby for me to read up all about that. In fact, after I exited my previous startup for 2-3 months, I was just a trader. So I was doing derivatives trading for 3-4 months, just because I felt I missed that bus when I left IIT. I went in consulting, not into any of these things. So I thoroughly enjoyed. Like I was, putting in many, many hours reading up about it. Also sort of testing it in the market, and I really enjoyed it.
Great. My fourth question to you. Who is likely to be more worried about monetary losses? I think both of you.
Yeah, I think both of us.
Two
I think the answer to question 2 is the answer to question 4.
Question 4.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we also.
Actually, neither of us worry too much about it. Sorry, I'm jumping in because um, our philosophy is that this is a long game, right? And every failure also teaches you so much.
Yeah.
And when you've been an entrepreneur even once, you realize that small monetary losses don't move the needle. We're all playing for a bigger prize. So it's a little bit like many laps of a race. If you're a little behind, if you're a little forward, it doesn't make that much of a difference. So I don't think either of us worries too much about monetary losses right now. We worry a lot about monetary gains.
Okay. Everyone does that.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So my last question to you. Who is likely to end up saving more money during month end? ये आप टाइम बैक में जाके जवाब दे सकते हो कि जब
That's me.
Okay.
Why do you say that?
Why do you say that?
Well, I think even statistically, I must have saved more
Because.
because that was my preference, or rather my proclivity has been towards savings.
Yeah, but I don't think past is an indicator in this because, like I said, I was
I think
a
we have
student.
exchanged personalities
Yeah.
over time. You know what? Over the 10 years or so of marriage, we often I sometimes joke that Gazal has become a Gupta now, and started saving a lot more, and I have become a Punjabi and wanting to spend a lot more.
Yeah, but maybe you get inspired by what you're doing. But I think it was also because he, like I said, when we got married, he was earning, and it was the bank balance. There was a bank
Actually,
balance
the funny
to
thing
save.
is that we've never both been earning at the same time.
Yeah, in the beginning, and
I
also
hope that day comes someday.
I chose to do the other investment, which is one is health. He spoke, and I think the other is investing in yourself, in terms of education or some skills really that you build. It is consulting is very generalist, and therefore just investing in some deep skills that you can build that can see you through in your job or whatever you do is extremely important. So along with financial investments, I would add that.
Great. So I mean, it was really fun, and thank you so much for doing this for us. And I'm pretty sure हमारे सारे viewers को बहुत मजा आने वाला है. So stay tuned for this episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kanish.